Hey everyone, Brandon here, and this is Comic Conversation. It's a big week. So many titles came out today. Look, I gotta show you something. My wallet's like empty right now. I've got nothing. Because there's so many comics out this week. War of the Realms 4, new Teen Titans, new Aquaman, new Justice League, Spider-Man, Life Story number 3 came out. Oh man, I'm a big Adventure Time fan. Adventure Time miniseries out that came out. There's new Firefly. So much came out this week, and I didn't even get the chance to run through them all. But definitely check out what you got out in stores locally. If you got to get it online, whatever you got to do, just check it out. So much good stuff. High Level number 4 came out. Yes, High Level, Pearl. Great stuff. A Marvel, DC, Boom, Dark Horse. Everybody's just kicking it right now. Into the headlines. Jonathan Hickman will be jumping into the X-Men, and when he takes on the X-Men, it's going to be an extravaganza. We've seen his work on Avengers. We've seen his work on Fantastic Four. The only difference is that when he jumps on X-Men, everything that's happening in X-Men right now is canceled. Shutting down the whole series, Marvel Universe, putting the axe through it. And we're going to get a fresh start to see the X-Men come back to their rightful places as a dominant team in the Marvel Universe. John Hickman jumps onto the X-Men lineup in July. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, the team that did Batman Metal, they will now be doing Batman Last Night on Earth, but it will be for the DC Black label. I'm excited for that. It features a young, sane Bruce Wayne waking up in the Arkham Asylum, and there is no Batman. He's never been Batman. What's going on? I don't know. You tell me, or better yet, you just pick it up, read it for yourself when it comes out. I'm excited for it. Lots of big news also in animation. We did see the trailer for Batman Hush come out. There will be some DC animated minis coming out very soon. I'm looking forward to that. Sergeant Rock is in the lineup there. Breaking news as of this recording, Eternals. It's on my mind and it's on the news because it is one of the movies that is going to be set up for the next phase in the MCU. The Marvel Cinematic Universe plans on introducing the Eternals, and I'm excited for it because where there's Eternals, there's going to be Celestials and Deviants, and there's rumors flying back and forth. I've seen that Hercules might be attached. I've heard that young Odin may be making an appearance, but the hot off the presses news, Keanu Reeves is now attached to it, along with Charlie Hunnam? The guy from Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, you know, ladies love him. You know, I love him too. He's a dreamboat. But yeah, they're both attached to appear in the Eternals. Angelina Jolie is already attached to be in the Eternals. So I'm excited for it, and because of all of this excitement, that's what we're talking about today. I read the Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. stories from 2007, 2008, 7 issues covering the creation of Jack Kirby. It's really exciting because when you go back and you look at the Kirby stories, you see that these weren't superhero stories that were being told here. This was a science fiction space adventure that, as I mentioned, when you talk about the Eternals, you talk about the Celestials, and the Celestials are basically the gods of the MCU, or at least Marvel's Earth. They didn't create the Earth, nor did they create the Neanderthals that were on it, but from the Neanderthals that were already on Earth, they created the Deviants, they created the Eternals, and they created, well, us, you and me. And so the Eternals covers not the past, but present time, or at least present back in 2007, when the Superhero Registration Act was in full force. The Avengers are hiding. Iron Man is currently rounding up people who don't register, and It's funny, actually. You were all on the Iron Man side, it feels like, during the movies, but rooting for Cap in the comics. Alright, getting off tangent. But this is the timeline that we're in this comic. And Neil Gaiman does a great job of taking these Kirby stories and reintroducing it. We kind of follow a couple of Eternals specifically. We follow Icarus. We follow the former Avenger, Cersei, who I wonder if she'll be appearing in the movie. We follow Makari and Druid. And there's a bunch of others as well. Sprite makes an appearance in Religion. Icarus, for example, takes from the story of Icarus. And I'm not saying that they're one and the same, but if you think about the story of Icarus, and Icarus wanted to fly and he got too close to the sun and his wings melted. Like I said, not one and the same, but that's just an example of who these people are and where their influences come from. Athena gets her name from the Greek god of war and battle and wisdom, Athena. So these Eternals are basically gods. They're just like we have Thor walking around the Marvel Universe. We have these Eternals, and they don't claim to be the Greek gods of legends or Roman gods of legends or Norse gods of legends, but they've been around and they've influenced humans as long as they've been here. Neil Gaiman does a great job of building on these concepts. When we open the story, they're all normal humans, and they've forgotten that they are Eternals. How did they forget? How did they become aware again? What exactly is happening with these seemingly normal humans that are now learning that they are immortals imbued with powers by space gods? Well, we learn as the story goes along that they're being awakened by the Deviants. If the Eternals are beautiful godlike creatures that inspired us, the Deviants are ugly, ever-changing creatures that appear like monsters and more grotesque with every generation, and they're currently in hiding. They're not like some of the mutants we see walking around with X-Men. These are worse than Morlocks. They look like monsters, but they've been of this planet since the beginning of its time. And it's actually these Deviants that are awakening the Eternals, even though they're always clashing. So what's the scheme? What's happening here? Even though they're the ones awakening the Eternals, how did the Eternals forget who they are in the first place? Well, it turns out that very much like we have our beliefs, or and even if you're a non-theist person, you have some scientific belief. The Deviants similarly have belief. I mean, they were all born of the Celestials, so what they believe in is the Celestials, and the Deviants are motivated and guided and seek to awaken the dreaming Celestial. The dreaming Celestial is the one that gives them their power, and the way that it was described, the Celestials used to eat the Deviants, except for the dreaming Celestial, and so they seek to reawaken the dreaming Celestials so they can once again have their reign over the planet. Of course, this has to be stopped by the Eternals, and it has to be stopped by, even though they're not that big of a factor, the Avengers. We do see appearances from Iron Man as the series progresses, because it is taking place in the Marvel Universe. So Iron Man's wondering what's going on. Why doesn't Cersei actually remember being an Avenger? No one remembers anything. They're still learning as they're figuring it out. It turns out, and I don't really spoiler alert, but it turns out that one of the Eternals themselves is actually the one who betrayed all the other Eternals by making everybody forget and create this reality where the Eternals are not widely known about. Neither are Celestials. Celestials are bigger than Galactus, more powerful than Galactus, yet they've been on Earth in recent time. How come no one remembers this? Well, this is all an illusion created by one of the Eternals, and gotta say, the intentions and motivations for why it happened are really good. One of the Eternals is actually eternally a child. He's as old as, well, every other Eternal. Which means he's been able to watch everyone else age, have relationships, do things that grown-ups do. You know what I'm talking about. But the young sprite, he can't partake, and it pisses him off because he's older than any of you. He's older than me. He thinks by right he should be able to enjoy life as mortals do, or any of the other Eternals do. And so he creates this illusion where everyone forgot, but now everyone's remembering because of the work of the Deviants. The Deviants need the Eternals to power up the Celestials. Can they stop the Celestial from waking up? No, they can't. The dreaming Celestial, golden that it is, rises in San Francisco and is just analyzing it, taking everything in, and is now ready to pass judgment. Or so it seems. There's a lot to take in about the Earth. The Celestial, the dreaming Celestial, has been buried under the planet for millennia. So he doesn't know exactly how to pass judgment. He doesn't know exactly what to do. The way that we process things, they're above that. There's one line specifically where the dreaming Celestial is kind of having, I guess, what could be considered a conversation with one of the Eternals, that Eternal being McCurry. And as they're speaking, the dreaming Celestial goes and says things that there are motivations and intentions for why he was imprisoned and why he can't just make the, and I'm saying he like it's a male or female, it's a genderless space god, but this Celestial has concepts beyond us, just as we have concepts beyond an ant. You know, how could I explain comedy to a blade of grass? Whoops. And so with this dreaming Celestial wake, it says that it's going to just observe. It's just going to stand there and observe. And if you were reading comics at the time, but weren't reading Eternals, then certain things would happen. For example, the X-Men for a brief period of time operated in California. You know, they had their little utopia off the coast of California, and standing in San Francisco was the dreaming Celestial. And so if you weren't aware of what would happen in Eternals, you were probably like, when did this happen? When did oh, we're just doing this, Marvel? We just got this giant Celestial here? But this is exactly how it happened. It was awakened in the pages of the Eternals, something I really enjoyed. So what do? We've got this golden Celestial, this dreaming Celestial. He's awake now. And there's nothing you can do to it, but we need some resolutions, right? Alright, so what do the Eternals do? You can't kill all of the Deviants. The Deviants are high in number, and the Eternals don't actually like killing. Except for Druig. Druig does like killing. He's really good at it, actually, and if Keanu Reeves is playing him, it'd be really fun to see that happen. But there is still the betrayal in the team that we have to figure out. And I say team as if they're, you know, superheroes, and again, they're not. They're just Eternals living amongst us. They're more like a family, you know, or a race of people. But they're all together, and they were all betrayed by Sprite. Gotta do something, and so Sprite does end up suffering the consequences when he is killed by a member of the Eternals. Now, that makes me think about today in relation to Marvel Comics. Today, remember the story came out like 2007 through 2008. So today, I'm not sure exactly what effect it had. We just went through big sweeping changes. You know, it is all new, all different Marvel. We just had the Secret Wars. It's almost as if we just got rebooted, and it really feels like in the grand scheme of things, it almost feels like this story doesn't fit in, which is a shame because it was a wonderful story. Beautiful art by John Romita Jr. Personally, I feel like his version of the Eternals is the best that we've seen visually. Neil Gaiman, one of my favorite writers of all time, doing a great job building on this lesser-known product of Marvel. You know, and of course, this is the guy who did American Gods. This is the guy who did The Sandman. And my issue, I guess, was there's a lot of things left unsolved because the expectation was there to be follow-up. And with the exception of a couple of annual issues, there really was no follow-up. We don't still see the adventures of the Eternals going on currently. It's just not a thing that we see. Cersei is not a name that we hear often popping up in the Avengers comics. Even before the reboot, it really felt like the Eternals didn't have a great home in the Marvel Universe. So, if I was to rate this, I would have to give this 4 out of 5 capes. That's right, we're flying, baby. We're flying with these capes. 4 out of 5 capes. Because the story is wonderful. Maybe a little lighter on the action than some people would enjoy. But I think a phenomenal science fiction tale that still takes place within the greater Marvel Universe. And it attaches itself to the world because we see mentions of the Superhero Registration Act. So it's just perfectly placed. Beautiful art, but just no follow-up. We don't know what happens with the Eternals afterwards. We don't see what happens with the Deviants afterwards. They really don't seem to matter now. And that's a shame. If this was a complete story that had a beginning, middle, and end, and we can just close the chapter on this and say, alright, that's it, done! I'd say that's 5 capes. But it's not. While the story ends at issue 7, it feels like there's more to tell, and I really wish we had more to tell. So with Marvel bringing in the Eternals, if I know anything about the business and the advertising and production and coinciding the world of the movies with the world of the comics and bringing them together, I know there's going to be more Eternals comics lining up soon. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for seeing how the characters that I got to enjoy will be a part of the Marvel Universe again. I'm also curious about how the Eternals will make their presence felt in the movies. Because, let's be honest, the Civil War on comics is not the same as the Civil War we got on the big screen. Same thing with the Infinity War, same thing with Endgame. The way that, even Ultron, the way that we see things envisioned on paper is not the same way that we see things on screen. So it makes me wonder, where and when is this taking place? Will we be seeing this today? Are we going backwards in time and looking at the origins of the Marvel Universe? Who are we following? Are the rumors true? Will we be looking at people like Hercules? Hercules was not present in any of these comics. However, could he be seen as an Eternal because he is a Greek hero of myth? It's possible. We had heard the Celestials mentioned in the past, and we've seen Ego as a Celestial. Ego was mentioned as one of the Celestials. He didn't look like a Celestial, but that's just what it is now. So if he gets to be a Celestial, then does that mean Hercules gets to be an Eternal? I don't know. I mentioned Sprite in the way that he was, I mentioned how Sprite was killed at the end. Well, he was kind of in the body of what looked like an 11-year-old boy. Is that something that Marvel's really going to want to do? I don't know. I also mentioned that this particular story takes place during the Superhuman Registration Act. Is that something that's going to happen. I mean, we already do have the Sokovia Accords. You know, every time I think about that, by the way, I think about Wachovia, the bank, and sometimes I get them confused. I got so happy that I pronounced that correctly just now, even though I didn't blunder, I brought it up to you anyway, because I'm self-conscious, and perhaps I shouldn't have. But enough about that! It does make me wonder, what about the story we will see present in the MCU and what we will see present in the comics? Because I'm a fan, I enjoy mythology, folklore, the gods, myths, legends, and I think if you like those things and you haven't read the story before, you should read this. Definitely check it out. I'm Brandon. Let's keep this conversation going. Right there in the comments, like the page. Subscribe. Make sure you ring that little bell that gives you the notifications so you know when we have new videos up. Thank you for watching. This has been Comic Conversation.
The events of the past months reach as high as Superman and as low as the Joker. All were set into motion by Hush.
Is it too much to ask for one quiet weekend?
It's like they're all crawling out from under the carpets now.
Hush knows. He's been one step ahead of me the whole time.
Tick-tock, trail's going cold.
This just gets better and better.